Well, hello and welcome to the Canadian Virtual Recruiters Panel. My name is Marc Belaiche. I'm president of TorontoJobs.ca. Just going to do a little bit of sound and video check for the next couple of minutes. So you have a couple of minutes just to grab a drink. You're in the right spot. If you have to go to the washroom, we'll start in about 3 or 4 minutes or so. Just want to make sure everybody knows where to go and where to participate in. The best way of getting on today's event is by using Chrome. You want to be using a Chrome browser, and you also want to be using a laptop, notebook, or desktop computer. You don't want to be using your phone, for example, because you're not going to get the same functionality. So if you have any questions, all you have to do is, and thanks, Alex, for confirming, doing an AV test in the back behind the scenes. Thanks, Alex, for confirming. If you have any questions for the panel today, all you want to do is just throw them in the event or in the stage chat, and I'm happy to moderate over the next hour or so. So Shruti, thanks for being on here. If you want to post your information, anybody wants to post their information, happy to give a shout out. So we'll start in another 2 or 3 minutes or so. Just make sure that everybody's in the right spot. You haven't missed anything, as I see more people joining on to today's event as well. Really excited to have a really great lineup, a great panel, and lots of good discussions going to be happening over the next hour or so. And as I said, if you have questions, something that somebody says on the panel, feel free to post them in the chat and we'll get to them as quickly as possible. So again, just going to be starting in a couple minutes or so. We also have, you'll have a chance to check out the expo area after the event. There's a number of great products or services that might help you if you're a job seeker or if you're a recruiter as well. And I'm going to share also some links that we have at TorontoJobs.ca that will help you in your job search as well, and let you know about some upcoming events as we go along here. So we're going to start in another 2 minutes or so. Just bear with us as I see people joining on, trying to figure out where to come. If you can hear me and see us, you are in the right spot, and there's nothing for you further to do. You can kind of sit back and enjoy it. Now, today's event, while it is similar to a Zoom webinar, there are some other features that I'm going to run down with you as we go along here too. But you can see how much time is left in the event at the top, just above my head. As well, there's a clock that will run down. So currently there's 57 minutes. So again, we'll just start in about another minute or so. If you're just joining, my name is Marc Belaiche. I'm the president of TorontoJobs.ca. I'll introduce the panel shortly. We are also just waiting for another panelist as well. Should be on shortly as well. So thanks very much for being here today. A lot of great content coming up. Get your questions ready. You want to know about job seeking, you want to know about recruitment, this is the best place to be. We're live. Today is Monday, June 28th. It's just after 4 o'clock Eastern time as well. And today's event is presented by TorontoJobs.ca and TorontoEntrepreneurs.ca, and it's powered by Event Logic with a K.ca. So I will start in about 30 seconds or so. I still have people coming on, so I just want to make sure that we have maximum coverage and people know where to come to. So it's very exciting. Okay. All right. We should be good to go. So just a couple of quick things. If you're just joining, you want to be using a computer or notebook or desktop for today's event, not your phone. And you also want to be using Chrome as a browser, not Internet Explorer or Safari, for example. Now, you may have technical difficulties. And if you do, it's more than likely not the platform, but your computer. So real quick, here's what you can do. If you do have technical difficulties, you want to close all other browsers. If that doesn't work, you want to close this browser and then reopen it and come back to the event. And if those don't work, then you want to restart your computer completely. And if it still persists, put a note in the chat and we'll try to help you out. But if it's a technical issue on the platform, we'll probably know about it before you do. 99.9% of the time, the issue will have to do with something on your computer, nothing to do with our platform. So our schedule is we have 1 hour on the platform. We do add on 10 minutes at the end where you can check out our expo with some great sponsors and exhibitors. And again, you can put in your chat. If you want to ask a question, just throw them in the chat and we can run them through there as well, whether it's in the event or in the stage chat. I'm happy to moderate them as well. And as well, I'm going to run through at the end how you can reach us at TorontoJobs.ca and so on. So without further ado, I want to introduce our panel as well. We have a great lineup of panelists for today's event. And I'm going to start with Manpreet Japra, who is Director of IT Recruitment at Fuze HR Solutions. Thanks very much, Manpreet, for being on.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So perhaps you can introduce yourself, Manpreet, and tell people what you do, what kind of roles you work on, what kind of searches you do, a little bit about yourself and so on.
Yeah, no, for sure. So hi guys, I'm Manpreet, working here with Fuze. Just been over a year. I'm the Director of IT Recruitment pretty much running a 360 desk essentially, where we're working on development positions from development all the way to infrastructure, and also with senior IT directors, be it anything on IT, we've got you covered here at Fuze. And we have a team of recruiters that I work with, and we try to work on anything from contract to permanent. We're handling everything in that fashion.
Excellent. Well, thanks for being here. So Diana Foster is Recruitment Advisor at WoodGreen Community Services. Diana, thanks for also being here. If you can give the viewers a bit of information about WoodGreen and kind of a bit of what you do and your background.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome, because I can't hear myself. Anyway, thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here. It's my first day back to work after vacation, so it's kind of exciting. So my name is Diana Foster. I have been a career professional since 2005. So I started off as an agency recruiter. So I worked a 360 desk, much like Manpreet. I did that for 10 years, did really well, really loved it. But then I completely did a pivot, became a career coach, resume writer, did that for 5 years. So I worked one-on-one with the job seekers. Did that for 5 years. And then again, I pivoted and entered the role of recruitment advisor for WoodGreen Community Services. So it's sort of similar, but there's a lot of differences to what I was doing before. So my prime role here is a job developer. So my goal is to create job opportunities for clients who are job seekers from all kinds of sectors, different levels of experience. We have a very diverse talent pool. So I help both the employer with their recruitment initiatives, as well as help the individual job seeker land a job. So I kind of work both ends of the spectrum, but my primary role is to create those job opportunities for people. And WoodGreen is not just an employment agency. We're actually a highly integrated community service organization. So we don't just do employment, we do everything, and we serve the community in Toronto.
Terrific. Thanks very much for the summary. And we'll definitely explore a little bit more about WoodGreen as we go along here.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
T. Green is Director of Talent Acquisition at All Your Staff Needs Inc. So thanks, T. It's nice to see you. And maybe you can give us also an update as to what you do and a little bit about All Your Staff Needs and so on.
I'm actually, my history, I've been recruiting for over 14 years. I started off at Addesa actually years ago in the temporary division, hiring from a lot of banks when I was doing my 360 desk with Peggy Dean and Associates long time ago. And she was my mentor. And then at that point in time, I went into doing corporate staffing just on a contract basis. And then I started after that going and working actually full time with the client. I started off on a recruitment desk, and then I went from there and became a manager at within a corporate organization, engineering, IT, automotive, oil and gas, customer care. And then I went on to Oracle, and then I handled their global talent acquisition around the world for all the largest retail chains for about 3 years. And then when they sold that part of the division, I went on to another corporate position and started off managing the Google client when they came into Canada. And then I got promoted to a director in corporate, and I was a director for 17 staff across the country. At that point in time, I ended up leaving for personal reasons. And then with All Your Staff Needs, we decided to create an organization that's a staffing company that's purely multilingual and for remote workers. So that's what we're doing. So that's my full circle of what I've done and what I'm doing now.
Excellent. So great, a lot of experience and a lot of great resource.
Still
for
21.
Sorry, say again?
And still 21.
Still 21. You got an early start to your career, right? And Pino Addesa is Recruitment Director at the Staffing Alternative. Pino, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. And perhaps you can do the same. Give people watching an idea as to what you do.
It just kind of, in a nutshell, I actually started my career as a corporate recruiter. I worked in-house. I was working for a large automotive company. From there, I left the corporate side. I went the agency side. I worked for a couple firms, and I just decided to take a leap of faith. And for the past 7 years, I've been self-employed. Especially, I recruit for HR professionals throughout Toronto. I've done some work in Montreal and Vancouver as well too, but I specialize in recruitment of HR professionals, both temporary and permanent.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. So, so I'm going back to maybe Manpreet. IT seems to be hot right now, of course. And my 25 years of experience, you get times when things are hot and then they go cold and all that. But certainly, IT is hot right now. What are you seeing in the market? What's hot? What skills are in demand? What are some tips that you can share?
The biggest things that I've been seeing in the market right now is development. Since a lot of companies are using the remote model, everything in e-commerce has gone up quite a bit. So there's been a huge bump on the development side, and it's been hard to find talent for companies. And also, in addition to that, even infrastructure roles, now that things are opening up again, infrastructure has seen a huge, it's been a lot larger now. So a lot of companies are hiring a lot of, system admins, network admins. But the toughest challenge right now for us and a lot of companies that I've been dealing with and my team is just finding developers. A lot of some are older technologies looking to bump up to new technologies, and it's been tough. It's the toughest market I've seen in many years. I've been doing this for the last 8-9 years myself, and even some of my seniors that have been in the market 10, 15, 20 years, and they're saying that they've never seen a market like this. Even though we're coming out of the pandemic, and even during the pandemic, it's been a huge challenge.
So if I'm a job seeker watching and I have skills, maybe not exactly what you have in terms of jobs, what can I do? What would you suggest I do to try to set myself up to be in demand?
You're gonna have to obviously make sure your resume is all up to date. Number one, that's the one thing I do. Make sure that all your skills, especially on the development side, are listed in your resume. A lot of the time, what I see is when candidates are applying to roles, we'll see, or even when I'm on LinkedIn and doing headhunting, a lot of those skills are listed there. But when we're doing headhunting, a lot of the skills or the candidate profiles come up, and then we'll be reaching out to the candidate saying, hey, do you have for example, a .NET developer? What are some of the front end skills that you have? We're looking for a full stack developer. Sometimes what skills do you have on the back end that the client's looking for? And there's certain technologies within that realm that people don't have on their resume, and that's one thing that I always tell candidates to add on. Making sure that number one, your profile is up to date, but also checking the latest rules. A lot of the times when we're checking the job ads, there's a bunch of profiles that have already been submitted. So I get a lot of candidates reaching out to me, but then at times they've already applied to the job that we're trying to submit them for or talk to clients. So it's a mix. It's a mix bag, but a lot of the times it's making sure that your skills, you're able to advertise the skill set that you bring to the table. That's the best advice I give.
Okay, terrific. Diana, I wanted to come back to you because you mentioned a couple of items that maybe somebody watching might not really know or understand. So maybe you can talk about the difference between recruitment and what a job developer is. So, start with recruitment and job developer, and what are the differences between them? Yeah.
Okay. And that's confusing for a lot of people. Okay. I was a professional recruiter in the private sector, and what that involved was both developing the job and recruiting for the talent. So looking for talent. In my job now as recruitment advisor, I'm not really actively recruiting. So recruiting is going out and identifying talent and qualifying the talent to ensure that they're a fit for the role. That's basically what a recruiter does. But if they're working a 360 desk, they might also develop job opportunities. So then they're reaching out to the employers to find out what kind of talent they need, and then placing the talent that they've recruited into that job. So that's kind of, I don't know if I explained that clearly, but that's basically what the difference is. So a job developer is really just going out and developing job opportunities. They aren't necessarily finding talent, they're not recruiting. So they are two separate distinct roles, but oftentimes they're one. If you're a 360 desk, you have a 360 desk, which is what I used to do.
Okay, and T, I'm going to ask you this question, just playing off of what Diana said, because you mentioned also 360 desk. For those people that don't understand the terminology, not aware as to what that means, maybe you can just explain what 360 means in the recruiting world.
Well, it's a better question for Pino, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to you, Pino, because I'm more on the corporate side, so you're more on the agency side.
Yeah, so essentially a 360 recruiter, essentially what they do is they're running a 360 desk, they're doing sales and they're sourcing candidates. So they're going out, developing business with clients throughout the GTA or wherever they're working. And so they're doing the sales aspect of it, bringing business in, but they're also filling those recs. So they're also sourcing, screening, and finding candidates that match those open recs. So it's really, you're juggling two balls. You're doing the sales component of it, and you're doing the recruiting. So it's a challenging role being a 360 recruiter, but it can be fun. But it's a tough job. But essentially, you're doing sales and you're doing recruiting.
Okay, and maybe Pino, for sometimes people watching wonder about maybe pursuing recruitment as a career. So why don't you talk about a little bit about what it's like to be a 360 recruiter?
Yeah, I can talk about that for hours. For one, you gotta have thick skin. So there's a lot of you're meeting a lot of people. So that's one aspect of it. You're meeting a lot of people. You're meeting a lot of great people. But it's a tough job in the sense that it's not just placing a job posting online and waiting for candidates to apply and screening those candidates and sending in resumes to clients. It's not that simple. So there's a lot of work involved. So you're always looking for the right fit, right? We're sourcing and screening candidates, and we're looking for the right cultural fit for our clients, right? So it's very labor intensive. There's a lot of work involved. It's definitely not a 9-to-5 job. I take calls, sometimes evenings and weekends as well too. But it's very rewarding in the sense that you're playing a small part in someone's life and someone's career. So it can be very rewarding too. Great.
And so maybe T, coming back to you, corporate recruiter, what do you do? Maybe you can give a sample of the day in life in your world.
Well, usually on the corporate side, when I'm with my team or if I'm doing it myself as well, I'm usually having intake meetings with the actual hiring managers. So there might be different hiring managers throughout the organization on the operations side or another side of the business. And automatically I'm doing intake meetings with each hiring manager to figure out what they're actually looking for. As well, when I'm the hiring managers, I'm usually doing an intake with a projection, which means that when they're with me, I usually ask them what's their projection for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, because we want to make sure that we're gonna actually be adverse to attrition. Meaning I don't want to hire the person for now and then the person leaves, because to fill back that is, we know it's going to be 3-4 times the salary plus the effects it's going to have on shareholders, public, the social media that's going on right now. We don't want to have that in regards to the organization. So automatically when I'm doing the intake, I take all of that information, I get what they're looking for, the technology, the skill set, the match for the culture, the match for the team that's already there. And then basically at that point in time, we'll then build out a job description with them, get the approvals, and have it go through each level of the corporate structure to make sure every component's been approved. At that point in time, then we'll post it, and then we'll start doing our sourcing and our screening through the applicants that are applying, and also reaching out to different organizations, such as my teammates that are on this call right now, and say, do you know anybody in the industry? And also have them basically supply candidates to us. Once we do that, then we make sure we bring in probably the top 3 to meet our hiring managers, because we are basically the buffer to make sure that they're only seeing the top 3 that are matching to their positions. They're not there to go through a whole bunch of resumes. Once they get the top 3, we take everything and do their interviews, make sure we're doing their background screen and offer letters, and then make sure we're doing the onboarding. So I do that with multiple teams before, with teams across Canada. But because I've actually have hands-on experience as a recruiter, I think that gains a lot more respect for my team because a lot of people are just delegating, but I actually jump in the trenches and I'm recruiting just alongside with my team. And then when there's the other stuff, the hot fire coming, I'll take that too.
And T, how many candidates would you get applying to positions approximately?
It depends on the organization. For instance, when I was recruiting with Google, of course, when they hear the name Google, we are getting a lot of applications, right? So with that team, I had a team of 5 recruiters at that point, and we may be having 150 people applying to like one position, right? And then we're narrowing it down from there. I think the best thing that we did implement is doing a lot of the pre-screening questions already with the application. So therefore, it allowed us to segue down and have a lower amount of people that we were going to be looking through that more match the position accurately.
Terrific. Well, thanks for summarizing that. My name is Marc Belaiche. I'm president of TorontoJobs.ca. Here with the panel, Manpreet Japra is director of IT recruitment at Fuze HR Solutions. T Green is director of talent acquisition at All Your Staff Needs Inc. Pino Addesa is recruitment director of the Staffing Alternative, and Diana Foster is recruitment advisor at WoodGreen Community Services. Thanks for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Happy to moderate them for you as well. So maybe coming back to Manpreet, you mentioned about IT, challenging right now. What are you finding? Like, what's going on in the market? What advice would you have for job seekers looking for a new position at this point?
So one thing I'd say is there's not a lot of people that are looking to move. I think a lot of people have been a little bit scared because of the pandemic. A lot of them have, secure jobs. So that's always been a challenging issue on our end. But when you're a job seeker, you're looking for an opportunity. You have to think outside the box. What is your skill set and what do you bring? What's your asset? What asset do you have that maybe someone else doesn't have? And on the technology side, it's all going to be about your skill set. And skill set, and even companies now are seeking a lot of people with strong personalities as well. So that's one thing that I've been teaching my candidates, or the candidates that I'm helping out, kind of review their resume, but also how to talk about their technical skills, bring up their technical skills. A lot of companies now are doing technical assessments. I think 80 to 85% of the companies that we're working with currently, they always have a step in there that either it'll be a take-home assessment or there's a code review during the interview call. One thing that I advise all candidates, and even because I do 360, similar to Pino kind of talked about the client side of things. So we always want to make sure that we have the complete information from the client. Hey, is there going to be a code review or a coding assessment live on the call? Because a lot of times candidates get thrown away from that. Or imagine doing an interview and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you have a test, right? And you weren't expecting it, and it's a coding challenge. So I like to take the steps down. I want even candidates, job seekers, one thing that you should really focus on, be it if it's an internal company directly or even if it's with another recruiter, get the details, get the information about what steps are involved in the interview, and then make sure you prepare accordingly that way.
I'd like to add too, if I can, just what Manpreet said. I think what candidates they're not doing enough of is one thing what I tell candidates that I work with is quantify your skill set. So companies now, they're seeing sometimes 200, 300, 400, 500 resumes just per job posting. Yep. So internal recruiters and hiring managers have the challenge to go through all those resumes, and they're looking at a stack of resumes, but these candidates are not standing out. So one thing that you can do as a candidate to stand out is quantify and provide metrics on your resume. So what does that mean? I recruit for HR professionals. So one thing you can do, and hiring managers and business owners love seeing people that can, have you made the company money? Have you increased morale? And if so, by how much? Have you decreased turnover? And if so, and how much? So provide metrics and resume, provide metrics and numbers on your resume. It really helps you set yourself apart from the 300 to 400, 500 candidates that are applying. So that's one tip that you can do. And one thing that I think, another thing that job seekers should be doing is have a strategy for jobs. Don't just sit at your desk and send resumes out and just spray your resume out and hoping, oh, I can do that job. I should submit to that job and someone will call me. That's not how job searching works. Be strategic on jobs that you're applying for, and make a list of, say, maybe 10 to 15 companies that you want to work for, or careers that you're pursuing, and stay in that lane, drive in that lane, and don't just send your resume out to a whole bunch of job postings hoping that an organization will call you. It's just not an effective job searching strategy.
All right, T, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Pino, absolutely. And I think that, we have to also have ongoing learning. There's a lot of things that are online right now, especially through the pandemic, that are free online learning. And sometimes if you're going for a particular job, go onto the free sites, take those free courses. Don't think that those certifications or the courses are going to be irrelevant. A lot of companies are going to say, you know what, well, this person isn't doing this right now, but they're interested in this, and they actually were tenacious enough to go and do a course that is relevant to the position that they're interested in working in. So please take the time right now and educate yourself, do the online courses, take those certifications, and keep learning, right? And as well, I mean, we've done a lot of conferences at the universities and the colleges when they're graduating. And I find when I've done it there, they feel so depleted. Like, what do I have to offer when I come out of school? Or what do I have to offer when I haven't worked so many times because I've been a stay-at-home parent? I think people have to look at, I say to them, have you touched money? You're bondable. Like, look at different things you've done, list everything you've done, and you'll be surprised how it can transition to another type of opportunity. Like a lot of people I find just feel like they're in this box and they're so frustrated, that when you actually say, just list everything you've done, and now we can see where it's actually applicable, that's something that you could do in the workforce. And then they get more confident in themselves. So I really think that sometimes when people reach out for people, also be open to opportunities. Reach out and speak to people. If it's LinkedIn, reach out to somebody. If they're doing something that you are dreaming of doing, sometimes you put a pep in their step of something they do every day, and you say, I admire what you're doing. And they're like, wow, I'm actually pretty good. I will talk to you and share how I got here. Reach out. You'll be surprised when people reach back. Just say, I want an informational conversation about how did you get to what you're doing.
Keep networking. Engage with people in your study. Build your networks. And sorry if I'm rambling, but I always tell people, keep networking. And networking doesn't mean send a LinkedIn request on LinkedIn and hope that they accept it. And once they accept it, you've networked with someone. No, go that one step beyond. Like T said, engage in conversation. Build your network. Companies like to hire people they know, they like, and they trust, right? Again, they don't want to step through 300, 400, 500 resumes. If they know someone that came through referral, that's your competitive advantage, and take advantage of that. Again, keep networking, keep building your network, and that'll help you with your job search.
Yeah. Diana, you want to add to the conversation?
I agree with everything. Yes. Another thing that I do encourage people to do is once you've like a lot of people apply to jobs online, let's face it, they aren't necessarily sending like a resume cold, and that's fine. There's a lot of tons of people get jobs that way. There's nothing wrong with that. But the thing that you really want to do is definitely make sure that you've got an ATS friendly resume, which means it needs to get through all those algorithms, and it's got to have those keywords, and you want to make sure that you're highlighting your accomplishments and all that fun stuff. And then after that, because it's not a human that's looking at your resume first, it's the computer. So after it hopefully gets through that, then you want to reach out to the hiring manager. It's not that hard to find them. And all you really need to do is go through LinkedIn and send them a nice little email saying, hey, I just applied to the whatever the position is. I can bring this, and this to the job, but would love to be considered for the position or something like that. Just let them know that you sent the resume, because otherwise they might not even see it. So that does work for a lot of people. And the other thing I just wanted to add about the quantification, which I totally agree with, you definitely have to quantify your accomplishments or your contributions, but some people don't know what that means. And some people don't have a lot of numbers. So what I tell people is that, okay, let's say customer service. I'm just saying, or admin. I say, how did you do that job well? Just think about all the things that you did in that role. How did you do it well? And that usually helps people with expressing what their contribution was.
Yeah.
Great.
One other thing, sorry, Mark, I just want to add one other thing. Just in regards to, resumes, right? So a lot of, I also find, and we're getting a lot of complaints from companies as well that, people or, candidates that are looking, just look at a job description and they throw everything on their resume. And then especially on the IT side, when the client, is asking the candidate to explain a certain skill set that's on their resume, they're unable to explain it. And, that kind of derails the whole interview. So you want to make sure that only put on stuff on your resume that you can definitely talk about, and you can back up with examples. That's very important.
Right. So let's talk, we've talked a lot about applying and how many resumes employers get and so on, but next stage, I'm asked to be on an interview. So now I'm doing a virtual interview. What are the mistakes that you're seeing? What are the things that people are doing right? What are some tips that you have? So kind of open to anybody if anybody wants to take that and start the conversation.
I can start. One challenge that I know that organizations are faced with, and it's a simple one, and I think many candidates make this mistake. And admittedly I had the same challenge. Make sure that your audio and your camera is ready and set to go. So do a test run maybe an hour before. Yeah. You want to show that you're prepared and that you're ready. Make sure that your audio is ready to go. Make sure your camera is set up, and make sure that you're dressed to impress. Even though you're sitting in your home, or maybe you're sitting in your bedroom, wherever you're sitting, you're still in an interview. So make sure that you're ready to go, and that you're dressed appropriately, and that you have a copy of your resume in front of you, right? So those are my tips.
One thing I would like to add to that is, similar to what Pino said, that's very good. And also I've been hearing, a lot of clients say that, they're getting interrupted while they're asking questions. So a lot of the times candidates know an answer, and they'll just start jumping. The client's not finished asking the question, the candidate jumps to answer. So just always listen, let them ask the question, and then answer.
Good advice. T?
I think a thing as well is, which I always ask, and there's been through your career, I think we've always done it, research the company. The company will always ask, and I always ask, what do you know about this organization? Because then I know you're just not throwing it at the wall and hoping it to stick. Because I've to be honest, I've stopped interviews where the person has come in to meet me, and I ask them what do they know about the organization, and they know nothing about the organization. It's over to be there. So, know about the organization. And when you bring a few more tips to the organization, to that meeting, than they even thought you would research, it kind of makes you stand out, right? I had a meeting with a client, and they said that they really wanted the candidate, even though that candidate didn't have as much experience as the other person. They knew the organization backwards and forwards. They had read up on different association papers. They didn't just know when they were created. They looked at some things the organization was actually doing with the community. And the hiring manager said, I know this person looks great on paper, perfect match, but I want this person because they actually did research on our organization and things they were doing. And that was the right fit.
Great. Good advice for everybody. Diana, anything to add?
Yeah, it's all great advice. I'm always telling people, what's your why? And a lot of some people don't know, like, why do you want this job? Why are you interested in this organization? Why this industry? Because it's this extension of what T just mentioned about, doing your research, but it's beyond just needing a job and needing to make money, and you've got the skills and experience. Why do you want this? Like, it's really got to be a compelling and genuine answer. And that's the thing that's really going to tip the scales in your favor if you can answer that question, that why, that compelling reason why you want that job.
Yeah. The labor market right now is just so competitive right now. Again, I'm working with clients, and they're seeing 300, 400, 500 resumes. There's a client that I'm working with right now. She received 600 resumes for a recent job posting. So it's ultra competitive. So if you're not giving your best, if you're not bringing your A game to your interviews, so just be prepared as to what Diane mentioned, and to what T said, research the company, make sure you understand what they do. Knowledge is power. The more that you know, the better off you are. And you want to separate yourself from everyone else. So.
Right. So I want to move to diversity and inclusion depending on how you hear about diversity, equity, and inclusion, D&I, diversity and inclusion. Maybe just what are you seeing? What are clients? What are companies looking for? What are they feeling? What are they sensing? Maybe T, do you want to start with that?
I think it's a big push anyways, and it's funny because that's what all your staff needs is about. It is a diversity, equity, inclusion, company that we're building, and because a lot of things that people want to be recognized for who they are, bring their authentic self to work, right? There's no need to be hiding who you are anymore, and a lot of companies are finally embracing that it's okay, come to work, be yourself, and then you're going to get your best employee, right? People want to be able to also contribute. There's different experiences, different opinions, different cultures that have different ideas that can really make companies grow. And finally, companies are saying, yes, I want to hear your opinion. Yes, I want to hear how it was done elsewhere. Yes, bring it to the table. And before, people weren't feeling that they were allowed to do that or to express that, right? And the inclusivity as well, and the equity in regards to everybody that's coming to the table being paid what they're worth. If I'm just as good as the next person, and Diane, Manpreet, Marc, Pino, myself, we should all be paid equally, right? Yeah. That's the equity, right? So because if you bring somebody in and then they find out they're giving their all and they're doing just as good as their colleague and they're getting paid $20,000 less, you've got an exit strategy going on in that person's head, right? Which could affect so many things. Because a lot of times people go for a job, they forget it's a domino effect. And I say that to candidates and to hiring managers. If one person leaves, how does it really affect everything? For instance, let's say we've got an IT professional that Manpreet's brought in for the organization, and that professional is handling a $2 million client account or project. That lead person leaves. It's not just that person leaving. It's that $2 million project that is now affected. And maybe all of those people that are involved in that project, right? And plus our end client is saying what's going on with the project. And then our shareholders saying what's going on with my investment in this organization. So sometimes even as a candidate, when you come in and understand the full scope of actually what your position is involved in, then they think, okay, this person gets it, because you're over and beyond just the position. You understand the organization, right? And then you're going to start moving up. That's how I moved up in my career. And that's an example. You start moving up because then you get a full understanding and you say, what can I bring to the table? Right? Don't like our parents always said, dress for where you want to be, not where you are, and it's the same thing with our careers, act where you want to be, not where you are. And you're going to be recognized, and you're going to feel self-confident in yourself. So never, be inclusive to say, listen, I have something to bring to the table. And the other thing, come in as your authentic self. We're seeing a lot of, different nationalities, different abilities, different abilities, and it's time for everybody to just say, you know what, I want to come in and be safe and be able to perform my job.
Great. Manpreet, that's a great answer, T. Thanks very much. Manpreet, anything to add or anything you've seen for your clients?
And we're educating clients and candidates on this a lot of the time. I think T covered a lot of the key points there. One thing that, I've had, even with clients, my conversations in regards to, someone coming in, similar to T, bringing up that, $2 million projects. We've had that a lot of the time. Well, what is your candidate going to bring? What are you guys going to do? Or what's this candidate's experience going to do to, we need someone that's going to hit the ground running. So, the best way or the best advice I give them, you're going to have to give them the right type of environment, the right information. You have to give them a little bit of time, right, to help this person adjust. And, with regards to what the company culture is, the values, it takes a little bit of time, but, generally it always works. It usually works out. And again, we're dealing with humans. Right, we make mistakes, right, and that's the key thing that I tell clients all the time, and as well as candidates, right? Even, hey, you know what, you might have made a mistake in one interview, but you know what, in the next interview, this is what you know how to cover up, and you know how get it better.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about offers. So someone's got the interview, they've landed the offer, they've landed the job, at least they've got an offer. What are some trends? What is happening in offers? What should candidates, job seekers be looking for when they receive an offer, and what questions should they ask? Diana, do you want to start on this one?
Sure. That's a lot of stuff. I guess the thing that really pops into my mind is knowledge is power. So you've got, what was that? That wasn't me.
Sorry, that was the other half coming home. I don't get any respect.
It's either that or I'm really hungry. It's my stomach. No, knowledge is power. So the first thing I tell candidates when they're going for like interviews is I said, you got to research like the job market. Like you got to know what is your worth. That's the first thing you need to, because knowledge is power. So when an offer is extended to you, you're in a much better position to know if it's a fair offer or, you know, how to negotiate that. So that's where I would start, is with the research of that particular position in that specific marketplace, in that specific industry, maybe even that company. Go on Glassdoor or Indeed or wherever you need to go to find out about that specific job and try to get as much information as possible, because information is power. You could even reach out to people on LinkedIn who are in that position. Some people will just tell you, you know, some people are really nice. They'll just tell you whatever you need to know. But at least then you're not coming from a place of not knowing. And that way you're in a better position to negotiate on your behalf.
Okay, great. Anything to add from anyone else?
Yeah, I when I speak to, when we're at an offer stage, when I'm working with a candidate, I always tell the candidates that I'm partnering with, don't focus on the number. Don't just look at the number. Look at the complete package. There's some things that you know, when you look. So if you get an offer for $80,000, great, that's the base. But what else is it offering you? Is it going to help you take your career to the next level? Is it the company that you want to join? Is it in line with your goals and where you want to be? So I always encourage people, don't just look at the number. Look at the organization. Look at the leadership. Who you're working with. Are you going to grow and learn and develop with them? Are they going to help you take your career to the next level? I've known people over the years that have actually taken less money to work with a really good leader. So again, it's not always about that number. It's not always about that base salary. There's so many factors to look into, and I think some people get caught up on looking at that base salary. Well, when you look at an offer, there's so many other variables to look at. So,
Great.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So I got the job. I accepted the offer. I started. So what are some tips now? First day, first week, first month that job seekers should do? Maybe some mistakes that they're making as well.
Don't take the counter offer first before we get to your first day on the job.
Yeah,
don't accept the counter offer.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, let's talk about counter offers, because maybe people don't know what that is. So
That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole new topic. We'll be sitting here
really.
Well, let's touch on
that.
Yeah, well, let's touch on that, because some people may not know what a counter offer is. So, Pino, you brought it up. So why don't you say what a counter offer is? And
yeah. So one thing that when I'm working with candidates is I ask them if we're successful, if you're successful, one of the successful candidates, do you think, and they give you an offer, do you think your current employer will say to you, wait a second, don't just leave yet. I'm going to give you a little more money. I'm going to give you, I don't know, cell phone allow. I'm going to give you a little more to entice you to stay. Well, there's actually studies and there's numbers to show that I think 70% of people that accept counteroffers end up leaving their job 6 months after accepting that counteroffer. There's a reason why you're interviewing. There's a reason why you're talking to people. So don't just let a few extra dollars keep you there. There's a reason why you're looking. And we also know too, it's not always about money for most people. It's not about the money. There's so many other reasons, but I always encourage, do not take the counteroffer. I've experienced it myself as well too. You'll end up leaving 6 months to 8 months after you accepted that counteroffer. So although it's tempting sometimes, I always tell people to stay clear of that.
Okay. Anyone I want to add to that counteroffer and all that?
Yeah, in IT, it happens quite a bit. Where candidates are, they're in the market, and then all of a sudden they change their mind. We had one this morning where, he went through all the process, the testing. He spoke with the company president. They invited him in. He sat in his seat, and then he decided that, I don't want this anymore. And he just stuck with his old we had that conversation of, you went through the whole process. It took about 3 to 4 weeks, right? And you kind of bring up the whole point, similar to what Pino said. And statistics do state that within 6 to 8 months, the company is generally only bringing you back because you're gonna, if you leave, then that seat's empty. They're losing money. Right?
Not only that too, they also they also know that you're looking now. If they
know that you're looking,
right?
And they know that you're looking.
Yeah, and then when they come to downsizing and restructuring, I offered Manpreet a job. He resigned a couple months ago. We're downsizing. He's got one foot out the door anyway, so let's just let him go. So just be mindful.
They're trying to backfill the position while you're there, and then that's a big thing that we have to really look out for.
Yeah.
And you always have to think as well. My mentor used to say to me with counter offers, why wasn't I worth that yesterday?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, so great. So we talked about counter offers. So coming back to the initial question, which was, first day on the job, first week, first month, what would you suggest that a new employee does to, make themselves noticeable, especially in an environment where they might be working from home? Who wants to tackle that one?
I would just really quickly, if I may, I'm just top of mind. Don't try and do too much. Don't try and oversell yourselves. Get settled in. Get to know senior management and senior leadership, and and your peers. And don't try and oversell yourself. Don't try and do too much. Don't try and feel like you have to make that great impression right from day one. It takes time. Get settled in. Get your feet planted, and and then kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Because it can be
part of
overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming to start a new job. Like even when I started 10 months ago, because I haven't been at WoodGreen forever, most of my time was spent just getting to know everybody, getting to know the processes, the system, the culture, all my colleagues, because you're working remotely, and then all the different levels of supervisors, and there's a lot to learn. So, and then I had to do the health and safety thing, the course. So there's a lot of stuff you got to learn that's going to be foreign to you. So I would say don't overwhelm yourself or stress yourself out, because that's going to be counterproductive. But of course, be open to, if someone like your boss, like your new boss, asks you for something, you want to be open to that. But most bosses will understand that you need to take that time to get settled. So I think that's perfectly fine.
I think as well, with what Diana's saying, is that ask questions. Some people
Mm-hmm.
when they start a new job, they think that, like Pino was saying, that you think you have to know everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you're going to be scared to fail. Trust me, everybody that's been at the job before you has probably failed a few times, right? In different aspects. So, let my failure kind of prevent you from doing something. Or, ask questions. Don't be afraid to go to your colleague and say, how do I do this? Or how does this work? Or, everybody went through the same thing you went through.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, go ahead. I heard somebody gonna say something. All right, terrific. So, I want to ask you this. So, there's close to 500,000 Canadians that have been not working and have been unemployed for 27 weeks or more right now. What advice would you give them? They say they've been in an industry that has been really damaged. Hospitality, travel, tourism, retail, those industries have been really hard hit. I have those skills from those industries, but I can't find something new. What would you suggest they do?
I would say be open-minded and go into it with an open mind and say, maybe this is a time for me to change, and I have a lot of transferable skills, and where can I use those skills and where can I apply them? So I know a lot of people in the hospitality industry have lost their jobs, and I know many friends I have personally that worked in the hospitality industry that I decided to finally take a chance and work in sales, because there's a lot of transferable skills there, right? So essentially just be open-minded. And one thing that I always encourage candidates is just keep networking, keep building your networking, and keep knocking on doors and keep telling people, how good you are and what an excellent candidate that you'd be. So two things for me is just be open-minded and just keep building your network.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, just build your network. That's what I've been telling a lot of the candidates that do reach out to me. Even some of the newcomers, especially on the technology side, that don't have, you know, a lot of the clients right now are saying they don't have the Canadian experience, but then their technical skills kind of speak for themselves, what they bring to the table. So there's different ways that, you know, agencies and, you know, internal recruiters are, you know, speaking with the hiring managers as well to kind of give them updates about, you know, some of the newcomers. And even if you're, you know, even if you've been outside of work, similar to what Pino said, what do you bring? What, you know, outside of the box, what other things do you have that are transferable? Even on the IT side, a lot of these, you know, a lot of people that have strong customer service skills are learning some of the basic help desk roles and stuff like that. And, you know, just trying to, you know, going back to school or even learning that way for some of the projects is huge.
Yeah.
Great. So what made each of you get into recruitment? Diana, how did you get into it?
Okay, that's a really loaded question. I used to work in the motion picture industry, which is completely different. Then I got into distribution, sales and distribution. Then I had a family, and then it's like, what do I do now? Somebody called me out of the blue and said, hey, do you want to be a recruiter? I was like, I don't even know what it was. I had no clue. Like, I literally fell into it. But I have a very strong sales and marketing background. And a lot of customer service. So that's probably why this person reached out to me. So that's how I started. And the reason I stuck with it is because I love helping people. Like, my DNA is like customer service, serving others, like helping them get what they want and need, and just giving them the tools and the resources to help themselves. So that really gets me out of bed in the morning. So that's why I've been in it for, you know, I don't know, over 15 years.
Great.
That's my story.
Manpreet, how about you? How did you end up?
I used to work in retail. I made my way up. I graduated from, you know, school with an HR degree, and, you know, I was working in Walmart at their head office for WSIB claims, and it was really boring. I'd be sitting there, and if there's any slip and falls and stuff like that, it just wasn't for me. And then I had, you know, when the previous staff works, I had the owner reach out that, hey, we have a recruiter opportunity. You want to, you know, want to check it out, want to try it out. So I left my full-time job, you know, dealing with that, just, you know, jumped in the recruitment side on a contract with Staffworks, and it was just helping customer service. You know, I think there was a bunch of call center folks that they were looking for at the time, and I loved it. Just speaking with people, placing, you know, candidates. I had recently graduated at that time. It was about 9 years ago, but and I had a lot of friends that were looking. And, you know, just putting a smile on everyone's face, and, you know, going out, everyone's like, oh, this guy helped me get a job, and then you refer someone else, and, you know, I just kind of fell into it like that. But then my contract then got extended into a permanent job, and then, you know, I loved it. I did accounting and finance, recruiting, and then I switched into IT, and, you know, just dealing with people was my main thing. And I love talking.
Well, there's certain characteristics that are somewhat common in recruiters, and I, you know, kind of wanted to share that. So, Pino, what about you?
I find most recruiters that I spoke to over the years actually weren't looking for a career in recruitment. They just kind of fell into it. And similar to me, and looking back at my career, I actually wasn't looking for recruitment. I kind of fell into it. It sounded fun. It sounded exciting. It was a chance to meet new people, and so I kind of just fell into it, and I've been doing it more than 15 years, and I'm still enjoying it to this day. I've met a lot of great people. You're working with different businesses and such, but again, I wasn't looking for a career in recruitment. It was probably the last thing on my mind, and looking back, I'm glad it worked out the way it did. So it's been fun.
Great. T, how about you? What's your path? How did you end up in recruiting?
Of course, I'm the odd one. I actually had a massive car accident, yeah, I was comatose for 23 days. Took me 13 months to learn how to walk and function. And it gave me a lot of time to reassess what I wanted to do. So I went through my therapy and through the hospital stays. There was a lot of PSWs that were contractors, and they helped me regain my mobility in my life. And I was kind of like, how did you get here? I was asking questions, how did you get here? And they informed me about agencies. Like, that's how they came through. And then I thought to myself, well, what's this all about, right? And then I ended up looking up somebody that had an agency she advertised it, and I said, I want to work with you. And she thought, who are you? Right? And I said, well, the people that helped me, they came from an agency, and I like what I'm seeing from them. So how do I get into this? So I basically kept calling her every Tuesday at 10 o'clock until she was going to probably get a restraining order. And just meet me. And she met me at the Four Seasons. And I remember getting in there, and I had one suit because I was an overall girl. I would never wear dresses whatsoever. And I went in, met her in the lobby, and she says, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. We were there for 25 minutes, and she gave me 3 job offers at that point in time. I just said, I love people. I want to understand how I can help people. And, just explain to me what this industry is, and I need you to train me. And what I did is I used to go to work, and then on the weekends and the evenings, I went over to her place, and she taught me how to recruit. I went there for free, gave my time. Anything she could teach me, I just absorbed it as a sponge, and I just wanted to learn.
Cool.
Very neat. So we just have a few minutes left, maybe just to wrap things up for each of you, and just a best tip that you've learned for either job seekers or other recruiters that may be watching as well. So Diana, why don't we start with you?
Be prepared for anything, especially at the interview. And this is a true story. So my candidate, it's not really my candidate, but I'm working with a candidate. They got the interview, which is awesome, but they were asked to, it's a virtual interview, obviously. So they're asked to bring an object to the meeting that represents themselves and to talk about it. So you could be asked some crazy thing, and you're just going to have to figure it out. So I might do a little research about that.
And what did they bring? What did your...
It literally just happened today. So I emailed the guy. I said, what are you going to take? Because I thought, I'm like I would have a hard time with that. I would be the person bringing the wine bottle and the cheese plate, right? That explains me, because I love to have wine and eat cheese. But of course, that would be not appropriate. So he's bringing a tree. Like a little tree, that represents him. And there's a reason behind that, because the job has to do with the nature and the environment. And I thought, awesome. That was literally, I actually had wanted to suggest that, but he came up with that plan.
First time I heard that.
Yeah, it's, I have never heard this ever. So that was the first one for me.
There's a first for everything.
Yeah, so be prepared, be open to anything. You never know what they're going to ask.
I'll be prepared. Manpreet, how about you? Best interview question, something that you want to share, whatever it is. Any
I'd always just say, always think outside the box. What differentiates you from the next person. The market right now is very competitive, so always put your best foot forward. And I know Diane says it, T said even, make sure you guys research the company. Make sure you guys know where you're interviewing, what they do. That might be your foot into the door. I've had it multiple times that even if the candidate has the right technical skills, just doesn't get hired because of the fit, and that's just because the client goes, this guy had no idea what we do. We love the guy. He has the right on technology, but just make sure you guys are always on top of that. Make sure that where you're interviewing at.
Good point. Pino, how about you?
Yeah, for job seekers out there, a couple things. I always encourage people to keep networking, keep building your network. I know I've talked about this a few times, or I mentioned it a few times during this call, but just keep networking, keep building your connections. Make sure your resume is up to date. Make sure it's error-free. I've seen organizations discount a candidate or candidates because of a simple error on a resume. So make sure that your resume is prepared, it's organized, it's ready to go. Make sure that you have your LinkedIn profile matches your resume. Make sure you have a sharp LinkedIn profile picture. Be mindful of social media as well too, because organizations are looking at your social media footprint. So just be mindful of that too. But I guess just to sum it up really quickly, I always tell people, just keep knocking on doors, keep selling your services, and keep networking. The job market, despite the pandemic, there's still a lot of great jobs available, and there's a lot of industries that are hiring. So just keep at it and don't give up. Don't get down on yourself. There's jobs out there. So keep at it.
Great advice. T, wrapping up, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think a few things. Look into Google behavior questions, because you're going to be interviewed with behavioral questions. Look that up and practice as well. I'd say join LinkedIn groups. And like Pino's saying, network. LinkedIn groups for something that you're interested in doing. There's a lot of members in there. Let them know who you are. And something that we didn't touch on, also look into illegal questions that are not allowed to be asked. So when you're going through interviews, you're not asked things that you're not allowed to be asked. Just make yourself aware of that as well.
Great. Excellent wrap up. So stay right there, everybody. I'm just going to do some closing announcements and then we'll talk off camera here. But I want to thank everybody for coming to today's Canadian Recruiters virtual panel. Today's event is presented by TorontoJobs.ca and TorontoEntrepreneurs.ca and powered by EventLogic with a K.ca. My name is Marc Belaiche, president of TorontoJobs.ca. The panelists, Manpreet Japra, director of IT recruitment at Fuze HR Solutions. T. Green, Director of Talent Acquisition at All Your Staff Needs, Pino Addesa, Recruitment Director at The Staffing Alternative, and Diana Foster, Recruitment Advisor at WoodGreen Community Services. How did you like the event? Let us know. We'll send you a survey to complete within the next 24 hours or so. Please do that. It gives us some good advice and good tips as to how we can improve. I want to thank all of the panel again and also the team behind the scenes. Alex, great job. Rachel, Sandra, Carla, Sarah, and more. A lot of people to thank. Excuse me. I want to also thank the sponsors, TorontoJobs.ca, of course, if you are looking for a job. We are looking for a number of positions right now, everything from accounting to IT to sales. We're looking for some sales positions, not only for internal, but for our clients. And also, we are also looking for a React developer for a new position that new division that we're creating right in the next few months called Gahuza. It's a new hiring platform. It's going to be very exciting. You can also visit our TorontoJobs.ca recruitment division postings online. I've also included in the chat where to email your resume. You can email to resumes@TorontoJobs.ca. You can visit my book website called Tales from the Recruiter. You can check it out at talesfromtherecruiter.ca. Here's a copy of the book. You can check it out online. And if you would like to have your organization and services highlighted, we have speaker, sponsor, and exhibitor options available. Visit eventlogic.ca. A couple of other upcoming events. We have Tuesday, June 29th, which is tomorrow, is the TorontoJobs.ca Virtual Career Fair and Conference. Thursday, July 8th, there's a webinar on resume development. And Tuesday, August 3rd is the next Canadian Virtual Recruiters Conference. So great opportunity to network if you're a recruiter. You can follow us on all our social media. I put the link in the area there as well in the chat. And check out our TorontoJobs.ca YouTube channel. We have literally hundreds of videos that you can watch on all kinds of different topics from interviewing, resume writing, and so on. So again, we have 10 minutes. You can check out our expo. There's some products and services and exhibitors waiting to chat with you. And hopefully see you at the next event. And I want to thank you again, each of you, the panelists, for being here today. And hold on right there and stay there for 1 sec. And look forward to connecting with you as well. Thanks.